If you've been following the electric vehicle space, you know that the cost of EVs has been a hot topic for a long time. One of the biggest questions has always been, when will electric cars become truly affordable to the masses? Well, today we have some exciting news that might just bring us closer to that reality. Recent data shows a massive drop in the cost of lithium-ion battery packs, the heart of every electric vehicle. And this isn't just a tiny dip, it's the biggest drop we've seen since 2017. That's a big deal for anyone who's been waiting to swap out their gas guzzler for something cleaner, quieter, and more efficient. Before we dive in, a quick reminder, all the sources we're using are linked in the description below, so after watching, you can check them out if you want a deeper look. Now, let's unpack what's going on in the EV battery world and why it matters for your next car purchase, or maybe even your home energy storage system. So, what exactly happened that's got everyone buzzing? According to the latest survey from Bloomberg, the average price of lithium-ion battery packs plummeted by about 20% in 2024. That's the steepest decline in 7 years, bringing the average cost down to around $115 per kilowatt hour. Just a few years ago, we were looking at prices that seemed stuck well above $200 per kilowatt hour. Seeing them nearly cut in half is pretty incredible progress. What's behind this sudden and dramatic price drop? Well, it's a combination of factors. First, there's an overcapacity in battery cell production. In other words, manufacturers have been ramping up production lines in anticipation of skyrocketing demand. When supply overshoots demand, prices tend to go down. Then there are the lower prices for raw materials, especially the metals and other components that go into making these batteries. On top of that, we're seeing a big push toward lithium iron phosphate, aka LFP batteries, which are generally cheaper than some of the older chemistries. Even though LFP batteries might have slightly different performance characteristics, their cost effectiveness is becoming a huge draw, helping drive overall prices down. Now, why does this matter to you, me, or anyone thinking about buying an electric car? The cost of the battery pack is often the single largest factor influencing the price of an EV. If batteries get cheaper, the entire electric car becomes more affordable. That might sound obvious, but the implications are huge. Experts have long pointed to a magic number, $100 per kilowatt hour. Once battery costs slip below that figure, EVs should reach cost parity with gas-powered vehicles. In plain English, that means an electric car could cost about the same, or even less, than a similar car running on gasoline. According to the Bloomberg study, we might hit that magic $100 per kilowatt hour threshold as soon as 2026. That's just around the corner. In some markets, we're already seeing it. Take China, for example. Electric vehicle prices there are already dipping below those of internal combustion cars. With a massive EV market and plenty of competition, China's been a testing ground for how low prices can go. This trend is expected to spread globally as technologies mature and more players enter the market. But let's not forget the bigger picture. Markets don't exist in a vacuum. Geopolitics and global trade policies can heavily influence these prices. There are ongoing discussions in countries like the US about imposing tariffs on imported batteries or battery materials. If President-elect Donald Trump follows through on some of his proposed tariffs, 60% on imports from China and up to 20% from elsewhere, that could complicate things. Suddenly, the same batteries might become more expensive for US buyers, slowing down the affordability trend. Europe is also rethinking some of its EV subsidies, with countries like Germany and France cutting back their incentives earlier than expected. That could slow adoption and potentially keep prices higher for longer in certain regions. If we zoom out and look at the big timeline, things are still trending downward. Bloomberg forecasts that by 2030, battery pack prices could hit as low as $69 per kilowatt hour. At that point, we're talking about EVs that are not just price competitive with traditional cars, but potentially cheaper to buy, cheaper to maintain, and far cheaper to fuel. With an electric motor, you have fewer moving parts, no spark plugs, no oil changes, and generally less wear and tear. Combine that with the potential for much lower electricity costs compared to gasoline, and the economic advantages of going electric become clearer than ever. This intense cost competition also comes from big players like BYD and CATL in China. They're pushing prices down aggressively, trying to gain global market share. That puts smaller manufacturers under pressure. They must either keep pace by slashing their own prices and margins, or risk losing customers to bigger, more established brands. On one hand, this intense competition drives prices down, making EVs more accessible. On the other, it could lead to consolidation in the battery market where only the strongest survive. Cheap batteries don't just impact cars, they have far-reaching implications for the entire clean energy ecosystem. Think about home energy storage solutions, battery packs that let you store solar energy during the day and use it at night. As batteries get cheaper, installing a battery pack in your home becomes more affordable, making it easier to rely on renewable energy. That could help more families gain energy independence, reduce their utility bills, and stabilize the grid by smoothing out the peaks and troughs of energy demand. And what about commercial energy storage, like giant battery farms that help store wind or solar power for utility companies? Lower costs mean larger installations are economically feasible. Over time, this could mean more robust and resilient electrical grids, less reliance on fossil fuels, and a smoother transition to a renewables-based energy system. Of course, the road ahead isn't guaranteed to be perfectly smooth. Geopolitical tensions could flare up, impacting the supply chains that feed the battery industry. If raw materials become more expensive due to trade restrictions, or if key countries dial back on incentives and subsidies, price declines could slow. Demand for EVs might also be influenced by global economic conditions. If car sales dip overall, battery production might slow down, reducing economies of scale that help keep prices low. Policy changes in major markets are also worth watching closely. In Europe, some countries are cutting EV subsidies earlier than expected, which could reduce demand and potentially slow the rate of cost declines. In the US, changing administrations might alter how batteries and EVs are taxed, incentivized, or tariffed. These policy swings create uncertainty for manufacturers, who might hold back on big investments until they have a clearer picture of the playing field. Still, the underlying technological improvements, better chemistry, more efficient manufacturing, and scale are hard to reverse. Even if policies wobble and trade wars erupt, technology often finds a way forward, just maybe not as quickly as we'd like. So, where does this leave us? The dramatic fall in lithium-ion battery prices we've seen this year is a huge milestone on the path to making electric vehicles truly mainstream. It's not just about the cars themselves becoming cheaper. It's about the ripple effect on energy storage, grid resilience, and the overall push towards cleaner technologies. The journey to below $100 per kilowatt hour and eventually down to $69 per kilowatt hour by 2030 represents a future where EVs aren't just the greener choice, but also the most cost-effective one. That's a game changer for consumers, the auto industry, and ultimately the planet. If this video got you excited about the future of electric vehicles, or gave you a new perspective on just how fast the world can change, go ahead and hit that like button. Also, let us know in the comments, would cheaper batteries make you more likely to buy an EV? What's holding you back right now? If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel for more insights on how technology, policy, and economics are shaping the cars we drive and the world we live in. Your support helps us continue bringing you the latest in tech and sustainable energy news. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.